Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the UiPath document understanding series where we are learning document understanding in a step-by-step manner. In the previous videos of the playlist, we have already covered this complete video roadmap of the document understanding, and I hope you guys were successfully able to complete the roadmap along with me. In case you have not started document understanding, I have put the playlist link in the description for your reference. Now in the document understanding series, we are focusing more on the classifier part. So as all of us already know that we load the taxonomy, we digitize the document, and then we have to classify. Now for the classification, we have focused on a topic which was intelligent keyword classifier in the last video, and where we have seen that how UiPath was intelligently able to generate the keyword to classify. But now a question arises. Let's say if UiPath is not that confident in classifying the document, what happens then? At that point, there is always a requirement to validate and train the classifiers. And once that training is done, then that should go back into the DU cycle. So basically the idea for today videos would be, in case the confidence level of the classifier with the intelligent keyword classifier is less, how do we train that classifier? So that would be the topic for this video, where we are going to see this thing which is the intelligent keyword classifier trainer and how I can utilize it in document understanding. Before directly jumping to the session, in case you are new to the channel and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in the playlist. Subscribing to the channel is free for you, but it helps me to grow my YouTube channel. Having said that, let's get started. Okay, so I am back into my UiPath studio where I have a solution which is a plain document understanding solution. You can see that by seeing this taxonomy manager at the top, because we have already imported the UiPath intelligent OCR activities, right? So I'm not going into detail because we have already discussed that in the previous playlist. Now for the use case, what I have got is I have got this input file. So let's have a quick look at the input files. So I have got three invoices, invoice number 1, 2 and 3, and these are the samples, invoice number 1, 2 and 3. Okay, and then I have got two receipts, receipt 01 and receipt 02. So this is my one receipt and this is my second receipt. Okay, so these are the two receipt and then I have the three invoices. So that was about the sample. If I talk about the taxonomy, so these are the data which I have put in the taxonomy. Let me quickly show it to you so it is easy for you to relate to, right? So we have the invoices. I want the invoice number, bill, total and the invoice, and from the receipt I am interested in date, number, total and the vendor, right? So this is the taxonomy which is already there into the project. Okay, so now if I go to my solution, I have done some of the coding to save us the time. So I am reading all the files one by one from the folder for each current file, which is the same folder IKC input files, getting all the files one by one from the current file. Then I am loading the taxonomy and then I am digitizing the document, right? So till this point, I think we have already covered in the IKC video as well. Okay, so now what I wanted to do is I want to do the classification. So to do the classification, we usually take an activity which is called classify document scope. We'll drag and drop it here and then we just fill all these details. Where is the document path? So this is my document path. Where is the document text? This is the document text. Where is the taxonomy? It would be in the variable of taxonomy. Where is the document object model? The document object model would be available with you from the previous activities, right? And what about the classification results? So I'll hit Ctrl+K and I'll create a variable called classification results. Okay, and that's it. Now we have to drop a classifier here, and same like in the previous videos, I am going to use this one, which is the intelligent keyword classifier. drag and drop it here, right? I'm doing it fast because we have already done in the previous video. This video is just to show you how do you train it, right? Now when I click on manage learning, I get this one, learning path is not provided. How do you want to provide it? I say yes, right? And you simply go to the project folder in the document understanding, copy and paste the taxonomy, right? All of this guys we have already seen, so I'm not spending much time here. So please watch the previous videos in case you don't understand what I have just done, right? So what I have done is I am creating a blank JSON file for the classification, right? I'll save this, and that way I'll provide the classifier to this activity. Okay, now this is how the IKC is looking. It's asking me to provide the invoices and the receipts. So I'll go to here and I'll just click on this button and I'll browse for the invoices, right? So our invoices are in the same folder. So this is our folder. I'll just provide the invoices, invoice 1 2 3. I'll say open, and all of this is automatically set for me, and I'll just say start the training, right? So now what is happening in the background? UiPath is creating me all the keywords from the invoices, right? And this we have already seen. So I just wanted to get a new classification file so that when we train it, it's easier for us to compare, right? So we'll just wait for the training, and UiPath has done all these keywords. Same thing I'm going to do for the receipts. I'll go here and I just provide the 2 receipts, and I'll say start the training. Okay, so the digitization and the training will now happen for the receipts as well. We'll just wait, and then we will see that what is the confidence score we are getting, and then we'll try to increase the confidence score by introducing the trainer. Okay, so this we have got, and then I'll just go here and click on this button, which is the save. So this completes the IKC classifier. I'll click on configure classifier and I'll just save this, right? Going a little fast because we have already seen. So now once the classification is done, what we have to do? We will just go here and we will try to log message, right? We'll try to just log a message. I think for the file name we should have already done it here, right? That the file is the current file. Okay, and then here I'll just have a info level log, and I'll just try to print the classification document type. So I'll just say classification type, that how it was classified, right? And I hope you guys remember that how do we get it? It would be available in our variable, which is classification results of 0 dot document type ID, right? This one. And similarly you would have the confidence level as well. So I'll just copy paste this log message, and this one I'll say confidence. Okay, so we have, okay, so it's a integer, right? So we need to specify dot to string. Okay, great. So this was a small automation which we have already built in the last video as well, right? So I'll just go and say run the file. Okay, so the automation started. We have got 5 files and 2 kinds of documents in the taxonomy. Okay, so I got an error that it is not able to retrieve the API key. So in case you also get the same error sometime, let me quickly show you. You can just go to the manage learning, okay, and click on any of these files, and when you click on this edit button or when you start training, the same API key would be available directly for you here. So you can just copy paste it from here also. Anyways, it works, right? So I just wanted to show you guys. So okay, so our automation is ready. I'll just go here and I'll say run the file. Okay, so the automation started. Let's go to the logs, and yes, we can see that it has started. We'll just wait for the automation to complete, and we can see that for the invoices it's 87% confident, invoice 2 is 75, invoice 3 is 75 again, receipt 1 is scanned, right? So that's why you might seeing a little delay here, because digitization takes time in case of the scanned documents, right? That we have also seen in the previous sessions. Okay, so it is 86% and this is 74%, right? So typically in a real-time automation these numbers are okay, but let's say even I want to increase the confidence and I want to train it. How do we do it, right? So I'll just go here and click on this button, which is the export, and I'll save it to my desktop saying output underscore IKC, and I'll save this, right, so that we have something to compare. Okay, so this is the data which I already have. Now to train the classifiers, right, all that logic, that when do you want to open that validation station and all, is entirely your logic, right? You can have it a boolean flag, you can, it can be based on these confidence level, anything, right? So now to train that, first of all we need to get the data from the human user, and now to get the data from the human user, as we know that we need something which is called the present classification station. So we just drag and drop it after here, which is the present classification station. After the classification scope, I'll just going to get this one, which is the present classification station. Now here it is asking me where is the document path, so I'll pass the document path. Where is the document text? This is the document text. Document object model, all this you will get from the previous activities, right? You have to provide the taxonomy, and important thing here, automatic classification results, the results which you got automatically from UiPath, and that we have stored in this variable classification results, right? So please don't put the wrong variables, otherwise you might get wrong results, right? So classification result, this should be the output of this activity, and then we just go here and say that whatever I do the validation, store them in a validated classification results. That's it. It's a simple activity, right? So now once you have validated this, you are at this stage, right? So the classification has classified, you got a score, it was able to classify, and then it was not so good, so you open a validation for the human review, and now after the human review it has to go back to the train classifier, so that next time when you run the document you get a increased confidence, right? So this training we require, right, after this activity. So to do that, I'll go here and we have to train the classifier. So I'll go here and I'll take something which is called the train classifier scope. I'll drag and drop it here, and this again has the same settings, right? So what is the document path? Str document path. What is the document text? So I'll pass the str document text. Sorry, my bad. See, I did a mistake. Str document text, document object model, which is the DOM, the taxonomy. It is in the taxonomy. Now human validated classification data, what data the human has validated, which is here, right? Because this is the human validation, present classification station, the human will validate, and it will be stored in this variable validated classification results. So in the human validated classification, I'll say that validated classification results, right? I hope you understood that part. And then it is asking me drop the trainable activities. So if you just go here and I just say intelligent, in the classifier you have the intelligent keyword classifier, which I am using IKC. Same like that you have the intelligent keyword classifier trainer. So IKC was an activity which I have used here in the classification. Now for the same activity you have the trainer also. I'll drag and drop the trainer here. Now it is asking me provide me the learning file path, At this point, please do not create a new classifier.json, right? Because the whole objective here is to train the existing JSON file. Let me hit a quick refresh. This JSON file, and this is the same JSON file which we have put in the classifier document scope, right? So my idea would be to train the same classifier and not to create a new one. So I'll go to this file button and I'll go to the document processing and provide the same classifier.json. Once it is provided, I can click on this button, which is the manage learning. It's already showing me that it's a strain on the 3 file, this is strain on 2 files. I'll just tick those and I'll just click on this button, which is the save. And then the last thing is we just go to configure the classifiers and we say that we want to train it for both of them, right? And I'll just click on this button, which is save, right? So now this completes our workflow. Okay, and now if I just run this automation again, ideally what should happen that it would ask for human validation for each and every document, and whatever data we validate here will go to the training and then we will just log the data back, right? So what I'm going to do is I am going to run this automation again. Okay, and this log activities, I'll just move it above, right, like this, so that I know that this is the before. I'll just write before so that we know that this is before the training, right? So that's the only before confidence, and I'll just write before also here. Okay, and save this, and then let's go here and say run the file. Okay, so the old results also we have. So typically the result should not have much difference because we have not changed anything, right? The result would vary when we actually go and do the human validation. Okay, so the automation started, right? Let's quickly go to the logs and I want to show you that this is invoice1.pdf. the before confidence is 8781. This is the same one, see, right? We don't have done anything, but the new thing is we have now got a validation station. Now when this station opens for the first time, it is showing you that I am 87% confident that this is an invoice, right? Now if I want to see that what are the things it has got, so I can quickly click on this small pencil icon and I can say highlight the references, and this will show me that these are all the things the IKC is using to identify that this is a invoice. Now here you have two views. You can click on this small button and say text view, so you would be able to see all these things in the text view, and the other option is you can always stick to the image view, right? Now you would see this small blue color button here. These are all the references. Now in this window you always has an option to remove the reference and add your own reference. So let's try to do that. So I will switch to maybe the text view, right, because that's easier to read, right? And then I'll go into this button and I say remove the reference. I don't want to have those references which you have got, and now I want to have my own references. And from here I will select tokens, and with pressing the control key, so I have pressed down my control key on the keyboard, right, and I am just adding the references, right? So for me to identify this as the invoice, I think that these are the things which should be taken into consideration, and if you get these things then you should classify it as an invoice. So you can see that I have had invoice, and let's say I want to add this prices and email maybe, right? So like way you can just put your requirements as, right? And invoice. From here I say that yes, it should be 100% confident that is invoice, and I'll just click on this button, which is the save. Okay, so that has now gone into the IKC trainer and then it will come back. Okay, next I have got this second invoice which is 69% confident, right? Now you would see here, previously when I triggered this automation, the second one was 75. Now you might be thinking, Mukesh, how can it reduce the confidence? Because we are using the same classifier file, right? So as soon as you go and update the references, that means that the same file was used by this invoice also, right? So you might have removed something which was relevant for this invoice, right? So you have to take that into consideration. Okay, so now here it is 69%. So I can go here and I can see, show me the references, and these are all the references, right? So same here, I will just go and I'll say that show me it. Okay, let's try to do it in this image view only. I'll say remove the reference, and then I'll say tokens, and this time let me just select this token, this sorry, my bad, this invoice number, account, date, right? These are all the things which we want. So phone, and then maybe ship to the demo company, right? So all these things I want to add, and mostly I'm adding the things where it is saying invoice, right? So that it is easy for the model to identify, right? So I hope you guys have understood that why the confidence was reduced, because we changed the classifier.json, right? And then here I say that it is invoices 100% and save this. Okay, so now that is done. Let's see what happens for invoice number 3, right? Because this is using the same classifier.json. And for the invoice 3, let me check the previous one. Yeah, so the previous one for invoice was, invoice 3 was 75, but after our changes it has now become 69, right? Now here it is not always mandatory to go and remove the references, right? In case you feel that these references are good enough, there is no point in adding or tweaking these references. All you have to do is just come here and say that I am 100% confident that is invoice, and click on save, and those keywords would be again validated, right? So you don't have to necessarily go and change this, right? Now let's see what happens for the receipt. If I go back to my previous notepad, which was this, so for the receipt one it was 86 and 74, right? Okay, I think this is receipt 01, so here it is 86. Let's see what happens. Okay, so changing the classifier.json might also decrease the confidence, right, that we have seen. So here it is 86, exactly the same, because we have not done anything in the receipts, right? So I'll just go and say highlight. Let's see what it has got, right? So this has got these details here, right? Now you can always add more data like this, tokens and all, but rather I would just go here and I'll say that this is a receipt and save this, right? So for the receipt I am just confirming it again that yes, it is a receipt, and that way the number of keywords would be validated. And for this one also I'll just go and say that this is a receipt, right? But here the confidence is a little less, so maybe I'll just say highlight. Okay, and I would like to add more tokens here, right? So let's add some tokens. Okay, like this, receipt, and maybe I'll just use this word receipt, right? All these things I am just adding to make sure that it identify that this is a receipt, right? This can be entirely depending on your automations. And once that is done, just go here and say add the reference, right? And now the reference are added, highlight, right? And I just say save. Okay, So now we have updated these things. I'll save this, and this time this was the confidence. So I'll go here and I'll export it. I think I kept it in my desktop. So here it was output IKC. So I'll just replace this file maybe, right? I'll close this. Okay. Yes. And this is our new results, right? 87, 69 and all this, right? So just minimize and let's comment out the present validation and the train classifier. Control plus D, right? So that's the shortcut, Control D to disable the activity. Okay. And this way this would be disabled, and this is, we can see here it was before the, and now I'll just remove this before from here so that we can see the differentiation, right? Or maybe you can just put new log messages. That's perfectly fine, right? Save this, go here and I say run the file. Okay. So what I have done is, this time I am again running the automation and I am telling UiPath not to show me the validation station, right? Because I have already validated it once. If you want to show it again, you can just enable it. In the real-time automation, guys, that would be based on the confidence level or any conditions, such as if your automation is 75% confident that it is an invoice, do not show the human validation, just directly go and process it, right? So all of that would be your logic. But the agenda for this video was to show you that how you can train the IKC and what you can do in that wizard, right? You can just directly confirm it, or you can just add and remove the keywords as well, or the references, right? Okay, so now the automation completed, right? And let's try to compare it with the existing one, right? So this was the output, and you can see here now for the invoice 1 it is 87, for the invoice 2 it was 69, but now the invoice 2 is 75, for the invoice 3 it was 69, it is 75 now, for the receipt it is 86, exactly the same, and for the receipt number 2 it is 65 and here it is 74. A little increase in the confidence, right? And somewhere it is not changed, right? So now what I would do, based on my requirement, I'll just enable this again. I'll say that no, I want to have more confidence, right? So I want this present validation station to work again, right? So I have enabled these two activities, right? And let's go here and I say run the file, right? So the tweaking of the classifier.json might also have a negative impact in the IKC, right? You might have seen it, right? Because IKC has created those documents and those keyword based on analyzing all the files. So the keyword which might not be relevant for invoice 1 maybe was relevant for invoice 2, right? And when we manually update the IKC, we might remove some of the keywords, right? So that's why that confidence differ. So here again we have enabled it, and for this one I will this time just go and say that this is invoice, 100% confident, and I save this, not changing the existing keywords, just reconfirming those keywords again that yes, I am 100% sure that this is invoice. So this says I am 71, I say no, it is an invoice. I'll save this. So this time I am reconfirming all the keywords, right? So this you could have done in the previous run also, but I just wanted to show you that how does that can change the course of your automation. Okay. And for the invoice 3 also, I'll just go and say this is also a invoice and save this, right? Now comes the receipt, and I'll just say it is a receipt, make it to 100% and save this. Last one is also a receipt, make it to receipt and save this, right? So we have confirmed the keyword, right? Now I'll again go here and I'll disable this, right? So I hope now you guys understood the drill, what we are trying to see, right? So I'll disable this, save this, go here and say run the file. and this was our previous results: 87, 69, 69, 86 and 65. Okay, so let's see. We'll go here. Yes, so the first one is 8781 something, no change there. But for the invoice 2, it is now 69 has increased to 75. For the invoice number 3, the 69 has now increased to 73, right? So you can see that it's updating. For the receipt 1, it is exactly the same, but for the receipt 2, the confidence is now increased to 74, right? So you see that IKC, the intelligent keyword classifier trainer, right, which was this guy. In the train classifier scope, you just have to provide this thing, and you can add, modify, edit the references, reconfirm it, and that will increase the confidence. And that is how you train the IKC. Okay, let's talk a little bit theory. So the IKC is the intelligent keyword classifier trainers. It incorporate a keyword based classification algorithm. It target the classification over files for the repetitive titles. It enhances the training set to be used by the classification by writing the learning data to the specified file, and in our case the specified file is the classifier.json, which we have been using. Okay, so now it is going to ask you the learning file path. The learning file path is the file where you have the classifier.json. This supports string and string variable. You can pass the classifier.json in a string file and then pass the path as well. Okay, now there is something which is called learning data. The learning data is the string contained in the serialized classifier data. With the same string, this information is also processed. Now there are something which you guys need to take care of. Only one of the parameter can be set. You either can use the learning data or you can use the learning path string. You cannot use both. The best practice, if you see here, it says that you create an empty JSON and then use it in the learning file path field, right? And that is what we have done. So you might be thinking that, Mukesh, where is this learning data coming from? So let me show you to that as well. So here you can see you have something which is called the learning data, and then you have the learning file path, right? In case you want to provide the learning data which you have already created, you can just provide the learning data directly here, right? But these two are mutually exclusive. You can use either the learning data or the learning file path string, right? At a time you can only have one of these. And now what is this learning data? This learning data is the string that contains the serialized classified data. With the same string, it is read, processed and updated. This field supports string and string variables, right? So these are the only 2-3 properties which this guy have, right? So that is it for this video. I hope you guys are now clear that how you can use the intelligent keyword classifier trainer and how you can update the confidence scores. Any more questions or any more doubts you have, you can let me know in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well, right? If you like this video, if you are liking this series, so make sure that you subscribe to the channel to get the next videos in the series. With that, wrapping this video, thank you for watching and happy automation.